Okay, here we're going to learn how to apply the formulaic concept of contribution margin in these problems, and hopefully you've read through them to make it easier to go through the video. Here the key is if we can have an unlimited demand for either product, which one should we make? Well, we should make the one that has the larger contribution margin. That is just common sense, because the more contribution margin, the greater the application is to cover the overhead, the greater the bottom line will be. So let's see which one has the greater contribution. Now we're trying to do it per unit. So we've got for the jackets, that's over here, we've got contribution margin, we're told, of $20, and it takes 16 minutes. So let's figure out per minute what it is. It's 20 divided by 16. $1.25 per minute is the contribution margin. I'm going to show it as per unit because it really doesn't matter. This is the unit, so the measurement would be listed in minutes. That's the contribution margin. For pants, we'll do that over here. Pants, it turns out that it's $32 contribution margin for 24 minutes, and do the math there. Turns out that's $1.33. So given the choice between the two, we wouldn't do rain pants, and that's exactly the right answer. It's got the larger contribution margin. Okay, moving right along, we're now looking at a joint cost problem, and what we want to do is use the relative sales value to allocate the joint costs. So the relative sales value is sort of a weighted average of sales between the two products, and the way you'll be doing that is units produced times the sales price, units produced times the sales value, that is sales value at split off. That's the whole idea. It's at the split off point, not the final, not this. No, it's not that. It's at the split off point, the relative sales value there. Yeah, and that's because from this point on things change, and it has nothing to do with the actual joint cost put into the products at the split off spot. That's how to do it, and let's see how it gets done. So 40,000 times $10 is 400,000. That's for A. It's product A. Product B is 150 times $4, and that will yield 600,000. So that's your relative sales value between the two, multiplied out, so you get it's a weighted average. The total of these two is $1 million. And now we can do the relative weight. So for product A, it's 40%. B, it's 60%. So that's how we'll take the cost from the split off and allocate it. So for product A, which is what the problem's asking for, it's going to be 40%. 40% of 600,000 is 240. All right. Whizzing along here at a lightning speed. And what we got here is a problem also involving contribution margins and decisions. So let's see what the problem's asking. What impact will, that's what we're reading here, what impact will the increase in floral direction have over an overall profitability if reception, that's this, are dropped and the floral increases by 20%. That's the assumption. So what you do here is you simply just do the math. There's a way to do it by just looking at the relevant costs. I do it the hard way, which is the longer way, by looking at just the broad strokes. How will the total change? You could you don't have to do a total on each item. The first thing you would do is want to know, well, what is this? So let's see what this is, the sort of before picture. Right now, that's what we're doing. Before picture is going to turn out to be profit of 50 when you put those two together, minus $4,000 loss, which is obviously the reason they're thinking of dropping the reception supplies. So that would yield a $46,000 profit. All right, so let's erase the slate clean and then see what we do. So let's keep that 46,000 profit. That's the before picture. So what's it going to be afterwards? All right, so if they don't have these, they won't sell them. They won't have the variable costs, so they won't have the contribution margin. They won't have the direct fixed cost because that's avoidable. direct fixed costs are avoidable. We've learned that in some of the other videos. This will stay, and it'll have to be allocated to these two, and that's what we'll indeed do. So now what do we do? First, we have to show the increased sales of floral decorations by 20%. So 20% of, let me just erase a little bit of the board. So 20% of 210,000, an increase of that amount would mean that the total sales will be $252,000 with an increase of 20%. Do the math to see how it works out. Now the variable cost will go up because that's what variable costs mean. So you now have to do the math to see what's the ratio to see how much it'll go up by. So take 120 of the variable costs over 210, multiply it times 252, and you'll get the variable cost will be, I believe it's 144. I'll check 144,000. Let me check it again. In fact, one way to test it would be, let's see, 210 minus the 144 will give us a contribution. Here's the new numbers. The new numbers will be 252 minus 144, and the new contribution margin would be 108. So this will go up to 108 here. And the way to prove if that sounds right is do the other thing. Take 90. What am I talking about? Take 90 over 210. Multiply times the new projected sales, 252, and you get 108. So now we know the contribution margin will be 108. Add that to the 60, so you'll be at 168. That'll be your contribution margin in total. And the fixed costs will be just these two, because the fixed cost under reception supplies goes away. So the fixed cost will still be 45. That'll be a subtraction. Now what about the allocated common costs? Well, this doesn't go away. It's unavoidable. Bing, bing, bing. Those are all unavoidable. Add them together. That's 55. Looks like I need a calculator to do the math. It should be able to be done in my head. But that's 85. Okay. And then take the total sales, which would be 252 here. That's the projected sales plus the 110. All right, so I'm doing it the long way and the hard way, but I'm still going to get to the answer. That's 362 is the projected amount of sales, 362K, minus the variable 50 plus the 144, which we calculated out under the new sales amount. So 144 plus the 50 yields 194. That's a subtraction, minus the direct fixed cost of 45. That continues to be a subtraction, minus the 85K of allocated common costs, which we already figured out, remember, down here. And now let's see what our new bottom line will be. 362 minus 194 minus 45 minus 85, and we get 38,000K if we do the math all the way down here. Well, now, let's see. So what does that mean? Well, the old number was 46. Remember, that's the old. The new number under this assumption will be 38. So that's, wow, that's not what we would have expected by dropping a product that's losing money. But indeed, that is true because we're not covering all the allocated common fixed costs with whatever the reception supplies was doing. And those costs remain. They're unavoidable. So the answer is going to be C. Income will decrease. Let's just take a look so you can see it. Income will decrease by, I'm sorry, the answer is D, by $8,000. D. All right, so that takes care of that one. Let's move forward. And I'll tell you what, let's take a time out so the videos don't become too long.